What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the Wolves Fancast YouTube channel for your latest tactical analysis with me, Gully. I'm talking to you again about a 1-0 defeat, similar circumstances, going a goal behind, absolutely dominating the fixture, this time against Tottenham Hotspur. But, you know, we're not going to focus on too much of what I spoke about last week. Obviously, that was the real introduction to the way Bruno Lage wants to play with this team, but a couple of new themes have come out from this game in particular, which I want to have a look at, especially chance creation and how we're crossing the ball. But it's really a positive sign to see that we're able to dominate a game against what should be considered a tough opposition again. And, you know, realistically, we could be looking at probably 4 to 6 points at this point in the season, but instead we're on 0. Going to get into it now, though. So as usual, I did all my research post-game with all the relevant sources, HughesScore.com, StatZone, FBref, and as you would expect, we dominate in many areas of the fixture, whether it be shots on goal, attacking third passes, passes in general, possession, territorially as well. You look at our average positions, you know, you can see how high up the pitch we are in comparison to Tottenham, the heat maps, you know, you can see all these little nuggets of information that show us that we're heading in the right direction. The club gave us that mandate of, you know what, we're going to play in a much more attractive attacking manner this season, and we're ticking those boxes, to be brutally honest. Bruno has been true to his word, and you know what, for a first game back at Molineux, despite the result, I thoroughly enjoyed the 90 minutes as a whole, as I'm sure many of the fans that were there did. There was a really rapturous kind of applause at the end, despite the disappointment. You could tell there was a tinge of disappointment given how we played, that we came away with nothing. But when you see all these metrics and things, and you see that the process is clearly in place for us to play this way, you always will take a little bit of heart. Now, this run of results can't necessarily go on too long, but I think it still gives us that little bit of extra hope and faith that, you know what, we've made a pretty good decision this summer. And obviously juxtaposed in this fixture in particular with the man that was at the helm for us last season in Nuno. And, you know, it seems strange to say, given that he's in reality upgraded to what is a bigger club with more talented players, but again, he kind of reverted to type a little bit, sat on the back foot and counter-attacked, having gone 1-0 up. Now, clearly, Tottenham got the results, so maybe they can say they were vindicated in that approach. But ultimately, I think they managed to keep us at arm's length just about enough to say that, you know what, maybe we didn't deserve to go out and win the game. We obviously had one massive opportunity through Adama Traore, which was a transitional piece of play. It wasn't necessarily something tactical that came about as of, you know, clear planning or anything like that. Eric Dyer there's a couple of turnovers in possession. Adama gets played through by an unbelievable pass from Ruben Neves, and again, like the Leicester fixture, you hope he takes that opportunity. But what I want to talk about in this video is really the way we went about trying to create chances over the course of the game, and in particular the way we were crossing the ball. Now, we took a lot of crosses. I think there's something like 35 crosses within the whole game. Very few of them actually hit their target. Now, I've spoken previously about how when we had Traore and Neto playing as kind of traditional wingers last season, and how the method seemed to be to ask them to go and beat a couple of men down the line and get a cross in, and how it's not the most proficient way of actually going out and creating chances. Oftentimes the centre forwards are outnumbered in the box, and especially with the shape that we play and with what we've continued to play, that is always kind of going to be the case. So if I kind of talk through my thoughts so far on this situation, I think if you can see, we've kind of set up in a defence versus attack scenario here on the board. We managed to kind of work our way into this kind of position quite a bit, and that 3-4-3, I think we allow ourselves to work spaces in wide areas quite nicely. We have kind of the two diamonds. If you split the pitch in half here, if the ball was on the left-hand side, you'd have Marcel, you'd have Saïss, Moutinho, and then Traore kind of working in tandem to work those wide areas. And obviously on this side, it would be Semedo, Trincao, Neves, and Kilman. with the playing against a team with a back four, obviously we've spoken about previously, fullbacks having to stay a little bit more narrow, so you can actually get the ball out to your wing back quite a bit sooner without them getting pressed too early. And once you're in this position and you've got the likes of Trincao coming out wide, you know, he can receive the ball here, Semedo can come inside, you're able to work that space really, really nicely. You can get Neves coming in here, and what generally speaking we ended up doing was setting the ball back and then trying to whip the ball in. Now, that's bore fruit for probably the best crossers in the country. You think about the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, Trent Alexander-Arnold, you know, probably David Beckham was obviously the greatest exponent of that cross that went in behind the defence into a striker, you know, who could feed off the real quality of delivery. What I found, I think, from our perspective, is that we haven't really got that quality within the side to produce that cross. I mean, Neves is an unbelievable technician, but he doesn't really get that whip that creates that arc going in behind the defence. And as well as that, what you find, generally speaking, as that ball comes back towards Neves, a lot of defences, they might be sitting up here as Semedo has the ball there. You know, I mean, we'll come on to the numbers of players in the box in a minute, but most defences will kind of come and step out as much as they can, maybe try and catch them offside a little bit. But as the ball goes back, you obviously need to come up with the play. But I think Tottenham were quite happy to sit in there knowing that Raul Jimenez is probably the only real threat within the box, and look to just, you know, minimise his ability to get his head on the ball. And a lot of the headers that we had and chances that we had were either cut out at source or really under pressure, you know, not able to get any clean contact on it. And defending the box, I think Tottenham did a pretty good job of it. Now, there were a couple of scenarios where we got into better positions higher up the pitch in this kind of area. Semedo in particular in the second half got in behind Reguilon on a couple of occasions where he had the opportunity to cut back from here. But again, talking about the 3-4-3 shape, this is where it becomes a bit limited. I think there was one chance that Trincao had where he was able to run into the box, but if you look at the scenario that Semedo's faced up with when he gets the ball in that position, a lot of the forwards are still kind of behind the play. He's really trying to pick them out, and again, weight and numbers just really isn't there. And with the 3-4-3 again, because you've only got the two central midfielders, it's difficult to actually get a central midfielder up in support and breaking into the box. You could possibly think a bit more about getting the opposite wing back in at the back post, you know, something that Matt Doherty did so well. But with Marcel and Semedo, I don't really think we've got the players to do that job. So, but at the same time, I think when you look at, again, going back to the way we press teams up the pitch, the 3-4-3 allows us to squeeze the game a lot better than a 4-4-2 would. And I think this is where Bruno wants us to get to in terms of changing shape, because if he wants us to score goals and he wants us to be really proficient in these kind of areas, you're going to need two central strikers at least making those runs, and then someone coming in at the back post as well. So, I mean, you're looking at maybe that being your right winger, a full back backing it up, a central midfielder here and here who are still able to back up the play and win those balls if they're cleared out onto the edge of the box. But realistically then, you've still got three players in forward areas, maybe a central midfield runner, and you're taking them all with you. But we're just not in that place right now to play with that extra little bit of risk, without that extra protection at the back that the back three offers us. And hopefully we can make that transition with a few injury returnees, the likes of Gully, Mosquera maybe at the back can help us out a little bit there. Having said that, I mean, Max Kilman had an unbelievable game, I thought, against Tottenham as well. So, you know, his place should be assured now, I feel. But as long as we play with this shape, Jimenez is going to be isolated. And an isolated Jimenez off the back of 9 months without football is someone who will probably struggle to begin with. If you look at his touch map as well, I think that he struggled to get involved in the game in the right areas close to goal. Lots and lots of touches around the final third, but not quite enough in the right areas, the most dangerous areas of the pitch. It reminds me a little bit of when he first joined the club. He was doing all sorts all over the place, but when we made that switch to a strike partnership with Jota and Jimenez, his game was much more refined. He wasn't being asked to go run from pillar to post to press teams and you know, pick up the ball in all these areas to feet. He's much more about getting him into goal scoring position. So maybe there's a little conversation that needs to be had there from Bruno with Raul to say, you know what, don't do as much running and as much, you know, movement all over the final third. But again, positive performance, just, you know, lacking that final little bit of quality, which maybe it speaks to the fact that we are looking to bring in another forward. And obviously there's all sorts of talk about Traore maybe on the way, Kiefer Moore coming in, you know, a player who can get on the end of things in the box. You know, everything that happens in the next couple of weeks of the transfer window will dictate, I think, what shape we end up playing for the rest of this season. If we don't manage to get those players in, I think we will stick with the 3-4-3 because it is working pretty well for now. We talk about the 42 shots. They haven't all been of a great quality, really. You can talk about probably 2 really good chances, 2 or 3 maybe, over the course of the 2 games. But with a bit of refinement, that should hopefully improve. So, yeah, another big game to look forward to after the Carabao Cup on Sunday against Man United. Hopefully the Carabao Cup is a good opportunity to get us off the mark on the score sheet. So, yeah, bring a bit of confidence in the approach, and then look forward to Sunday, and I'll see you guys with a video after that.